One of the news stories that we're seeing presently is, again, should these monuments, should names on military bases be removed because of the Confederacy tie-in, and as well as other steps that are going to come about as well. Names on college campuses of buildings and just towns, streets, so on. And there is this sense that this is ruining what America really is, who we really are, and the historicity of what we have experienced. Can you lean into that and just give us some perspective as to this tie-in between nationalism and Christianity and American, being really American?
Okay. I think the most obvious example being Confederate statues in the fact that they're set up, erected to send a message. I think that's fairly clear. That's been shown by historians. That's an easy answer. There's an easy answer to that question. That's remove them, because they were erected to put up a terrible message that we should reject today. When it comes to sort of buildings or in this, army bases named for Confederate generals, I don't think Fort Bragg was maybe named Fort Bragg, for instance, to send the kind of message that a Confederate statue was erected on a courthouse lawn to send. But so, you start kind of going down these gradations where the Confederate statues are the easy one to deal with. Fort Bragg is more, to me, an example of just sort of cultural blindness, also mixed in with just white Southern nationalism. And I'm supportive of changing the names of Fort Bragg and things along those lines. Primarily because it seems to be such a small, easy step. Why continue to use names, particularly of individuals who are known, what they're known for is being Confederates, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And fighting for that cause. Why continue to use their names when that's going to alienate and irritate individuals, and justifiably so, I believe. Now you can move on to, maybe there have been instances where people advocate taking down Washington statues of George Washington, things like that. Slave owners. I think then that gets a little more difficult. So we go from the easy to the more difficult situations. I'm not thrilled with slave owners being honored, but if they're being honored, let's say for something other than advocating slavery.
I see.
That's not what they're known for. That's not why that statue's there or that building is named for them. I'm more comfortable with that. And I don't see that as sending the same kind of message that Confederate statue does or Fort Bragg does. It's in a message that we're honoring this imperfect person for these things that she or he did, but we're not hiding the fact that that person was imperfect and did some things that we disagree with. So we're not holding this person up as being perfect or that we're sanctioning everything she or he did, but we named this building for him or her because of this reason, not the fact that they owned slaves, for instance.
So advocacy becomes a key aspect of you're looking at and seeing some of these monuments and names continue. And that's a good point. It doesn't really come to the forefront, and especially as, again, the argument is made, this is history. You can't remove history. But you're saying what is allowed to stand and what does it push? What does it put forward? Almost like putting those statues on in those prominent places in the public square.
Yeah.
Okay.
Again, it comes back to, why is that individual known? Why is that individual being honored? And if it's first and foremost, the first thing that comes to mind for, I'd say, a wide variety of people, for many people, is that person fought for the Confederacy. Then obviously, that person advocated slavery, was very outspoken in his support of slavery, something along those lines, or racism. Then yeah, that's a more obvious example of saying okay, that name needs to be removed or that statue taken down. But if a person's really known for something else and honored really for that, but then they have these areas of their life where they're clearly blind spots, to put it mildly, I just see that as being a bit different. A statue of Thomas Jefferson is there because of the role he played, I think, um, in founding the country and writing the Declaration, which has in many ways guided and inspired America's efforts to bring about equality of the races. But the fact that he was a slave owner and that there were other things about his past that we would wholeheartedly reject today, that's not what he is known for. That's not what he's being honored for. And therefore, I just see that as being a little more complex of a situation. Not so easy to say, okay, take that down. Because then you couldn't honor anyone. There are individuals who I think need to be honored, should be honored, but who did some terrible things, some sinful things in their lives. That's not what they're known for. That's not their greatest accomplishment. But if you're going to say you have to be perfect in order to have a building named after you or have a statue erected of you, you're not going to have any statues or building names because no one's perfect other than Jesus Christ.
Well, I thank you for that perspective. That's going to come into play for those who are watching, whether you agree with it fully or not. It is going to come into play because we have to come back to that less vitriol approach where we start to say, how do we move forward? How do we make this balance? And so that's a great point.